Welcome everyone to another edition of Talks with Sato, the weekly Twitter spaces that we do with the Money on Chain community, in which we try to have conversations with people that are building applications, use cases, communities, or lots of different things on Bitcoin and the Bitcoin layer 2 ecosystem, the broader Bitcoin ecosystem. Today, we're going to talk with Wallace Ferreira, and he is the developer that created a peer-to-peer marketplace for trading tokens on the Rootstock, the Bitcoin sidechain, for other tokens and also for fiat currencies. And that's a way of ramping on and off. So, Wallace, first of all, hello, and thank you for joining us.
Hi, Thomas. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having me here.
All right, I am very excited for these conversations. The peer-to-peer marketplaces on Telegram. It's a very interesting topic. It's something that a couple of years ago I thought it would be impossible to create, but today they work and they are a great way for people to enter into the Bitcoin ecosystem and also to exit if they need to. So I think it would be good if we start with a little bit of your introduction and your background, if you want.
Yeah, sure. I can quickly give you some introductions. So I've been working as a software developer basically my entire life. I remember building my first apps and web pages when I was still a teenager in high school. So that's something that I always enjoyed. I'm a self-taught developer. After high school, I went to college and got a computer science degree. And that was back in 2012 when I started working more professionally. So for many years, I worked in a company that provided solutions for the financial market in Brazil. And then I started working as a freelancer, providing my services to many people and companies around the world. So over these years, I gained a lot of experience in building applications, especially web platforms. And that's still my main application area today. But recently, I became more interested in building something useful in the crypto space. And the P2p trading bot was one way I found to do it. So basically, that summarizes a bit my journey from early days up to now.
Okay, so you started from very early. As you said, you're in Brazil.
Mhm.
I see a lot of innovation. It's coming from South America. You know, we see Money on Chain created in Argentina. We see Rootstock got started in Argentina. We have Tropicus that I think started in Colombia, if I'm not mistaken. And now we have this peer-to-peer marketplace coming from Brazil. Do you think there is something to this concept of necessity driving innovation forward?
Yes, I think it has to do with the fact that the currencies at these places are collapsing. And maybe people realized necessity that they needed a way to get opt out of the traditional fiat currencies and move towards a more stable system. And I think there might be a driving force behind it.
Yes, I agree 100%. I was born in Argentina. I lived there almost my entire life. So I can testify that
Mhm.
when currency starts failing, everything else starts failing. And then you start looking for solutions and for alternatives. I've been living in Australia the past 7 years, and here is completely different because the need is not there. There's a lot less people innovating in these kinds of technologies. Like most of the things that happen in Australia here with blockchain or crypto or anything like that has to do with gaming and things like that, which are cool, but it's completely different than what we see coming out from places like Argentina and Brazil. So I wanna ask you, how do you got started in the whole Bitcoin space? Because you said you started as a developer doing apps since high school, then you started doing some financial applications. And when did you start getting interested in all these Bitcoin things?
Yeah, sure. So basically, I got to know Bitcoin back in 2016 when I was searching for a way to get paid for my work as a freelancer. So it was all connected. I had clients outside Brazil and I needed a way to get paid for my work. Back then, PayPal was the best solution available, but the fees were very high and I was always afraid of losing my money because there were a lot of breaking problems. And I started trying to find a different solution for my problem. Then I came across some article talking about Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer and decentralized payment system that didn't rely on any central authority to work. So at first I was very skeptical because it seemed too good to be true. So come on, an asset that you can truly hold, you can transfer anywhere, nobody can confiscate it from you. It seemed too good to be true. But I decided to learn as much as I could about it. So we started a marathon, read Satoshi's white paper, I read all the material available at the Bitcoin.org website, and even participate in some discussions at the Bitcoin Talk forum. And the more I read about it, the more it made sense to me. So it was a point of no return. After 3 days reading and explaining and trying to understand better how it worked, I became a fan. So I downloaded the wallets. I tried to find P2p traders to buy and sell Bitcoin. And although I didn't actually was able to receive payment directly in Bitcoin from my customers outside Brazil, every time I would get some money from PayPal, I would buy and hold some Bitcoin. So for me, it was very natural since I knew it and then became a fan. It was, yeah, immediately. But unfortunately, like most people in the earlier days, I lost many of the Bitcoins because I didn't pay too much attention to custody. I lost in some pyramid schemes. So yes, I didn't value Bitcoin as I should at the beginning, and I paid a high price for that. But at least I learned the lesson. So not your keys, not your price.
Yes, 100%. I think most of the people listening to this will have a similar experience in terms of losing your early bitcoins. I think that seems to be something that happens to most people. It's one of those things that until it doesn't happen to you, you don't learn how to keep your bitcoin safe. I can I can say that to me it happened quite similarly, and the few bitcoins that I got left that I didn't lose from my earlier acquisition of Bitcoin, when they went up in price, they recover all the stuff that I lost. But yeah, I think it's something that tends to happen to most. And it's interesting that you say when you first look into Bitcoin, it seemed too good to be true. I think that's also something that most people will relate to. I remember the first time I read about Bitcoin, I thought this is great, but it will never happen. It will never catch on. People will not understand it. And I am happy to be proven wrong.
Yeah, yeah. And back then, I also during the reading I was doing, I was always trying to challenge it. I mean, that can work. What if the nodes, I don't know, try to steal my money? I think I had all the questions that people starting Bitcoin have. Basically, that can't work. What if some player tries to misbehave? If there is no central authority, how can my money be safe? So I had a lot of questions, but the more I read it, the more I drove into the technical details. I was convincing myself, okay, I am wrong, that thing is amazing. There is no way back. So I was totally convinced by it. And since then, yes, I'm a bit Bitcoin fan.
All right, perfect. Now I wanna start talking about this peer to peer marketplace that you built on the Telegram app. I know some of our listeners will know what these kinds of bots do and how they function, but I think most of the audience probably won't. So if you can explain what they are in a very simple way, and yeah, if you can give us a bit of an overview of what these marketplaces are.
Sure. Yeah. Basically, the P2P bot is a bot in the Telegram. So basically, it's a software that you interact with for buying and selling assets. So let's say, for example, you want to buy, I don't know, some RBTC paying with pesos. You could interact with the bot and say, for example, I want to buy this much RBTC and pay this much pesos, for example. Then the bot is going to take your order and publish it to a community, to a channel in Telegram, so that other users can actually see, okay, Thomas is willing to buy some RBTC and paying pesos for that. So if somebody wants to sell the RBTC to you, they can see the order in the channel and then basically do the opposite, which is basically take the order and send you the pesos so that you can release the RBTC to the person. So basically works like automated order book system. I'm not sure if that is clear, but happy to dive more into the details.
Yes, I think it's clear enough. Like I of course I understand it because I have used these kinds of softwares before. But yes, it's very interesting because it's something extremely. It looks very simple and very intuitive from a user standpoint. So you just open the Telegram app and you're like chatting with a bot and you're sending orders back and forth. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you first need to send the funds to an escrow.
Yep. So basically, how does that work? So we have two parts of the system. So you have the Telegram part, which is where the users can interact with the bot and see where the orders are published and where they can communicate with each other to, for example, say, okay, these are my banking details. Please send the money to me. So there is the communication part and the channel where the orders are. And then you have the smart contract, which actually handles the locking and the transferring of the assets because Telegram is a centralization point. But I want to actually make sure that the bot is safe to use and it is decentralized enough. So that's where the smart contract takes place. Basically, the user has to lock the funds, the smart contract. And at this point, that user has to guarantee that if the the counterparty sends the fiat currency, the smart contract will release the locked funds. So basically, you have this assurance by the smart contract also implemented.
Yeah, I think that that's very well explained. So basically, you lock the funds in the smart contract.
Mhm.
The player that's taking the other side of the trade sees that the funds are there. He then
Mhm.
sends fiat or whatever payment method they established. And once the
Correct.
initial actor gets those funds, he releases the funds from the
Yes, absolutely. Yep. That's perfect. Yep. That's exactly how it
right.
works.
Yeah, no, it's fascinating because like you would not expect that you could do something like this from an app like Telegram. It really opens up a lot of possibilities because now people can start trading any fiat in the world as long as the two players agree on that payment method. But you can come onto Rootstock and you can also bridge out of Rootstock into fiat in a very seamless way with, anybody has access to Telegram anywhere in the world. So it's very interesting.
Yeah. I think that it facilitates the process. So the Telegram for the communication part makes things easier, and the smart contract gives more decentralization and security to users. So I think that was a good combo to have.
Yes, definitely. And I see people are at least from my work as a rootstock ambassador, I see these peer-to-peer bots becoming quite popular and prominent and giving people, especially in places like Latin America, an easy way to have their funds and like you said, like get paid if you are a freelancer or if you just wanna save on Bitcoin or on a stable coin like Doc. It opens a lot of opportunities for people. That's what makes me the most excited about these kinds of tools. Just as a question, what is the part of this project that makes you the most excited?
Yes, I think the thing that is giving me more hope about the project is that people as actually using the bot to trade because there was the motivation behind it. I was trying to find a way that they could do something nice for the community, and I didn't know exactly what they could be. So the P2P bot was a way I found that okay, that's something that is nice to work by, but it can have a potential in people's lives. So seeing the bot working, seeing the bot has this feedback system. So basically, let's say for example, you make a trade and the trade is successful, then you can say, okay, please now you rate your counterparty to say how the trade went. So I can see in the bot that some people working and giving 5 stars to each other. So I think that thing happening is what motivates me the most. Okay.
Nice. So we're seeing an emerging reputation system, which is really good when you're interacting with people that you haven't met before, and you're exchanging value.
Yeah.
It's very useful to have. I wanna ask you first, like how how did you come up with the idea of building this on Telegram?
Yeah, so before working at the P2P bot, I worked on a tool called Crypto Testament. So that's another DApp deployed to the Rootstock ecosystem, which is basically a DApp that allows people to create digital testaments. So basically, it's a safety box where you deposit, for example, some RBTC. And let's say, for example, I don't know, you stop depositing some funds after 1 year. You could configure the DApp to transfer the funds in the safety box to some wallet address. Meaning, for example, let's say I want, if I'm no longer around, I want my child to have the funds. So I built that tool, and that was the first attempt to do something nice for the community. And then Manu from Morning on Chain saw a community call when I was presenting Crypto Testament. He said, oh, no, maybe that smart contract you did can actually be used to enable a use case that people, at least in Argentina, actually need, which is the need to convert fiat currencies into stable coins. So I know that in places like Argentina, Colombia, Venezuela, and even Brazil, inflation destroys the purchasing power of the currency. And they could understand right away the need for people to get access to a stronger currency. I do believe that Bitcoin is a stronger currency, but I also realized that for many people, the volatility is still an issue. So it made sense to me right away that having a way for people to convert their fiat currencies into some stable coins, for example, the DOC, would be nice. And that's where it sparked me some interest. So Manu then introduced me to Francisco Calderon. So Francisco Calderon actually built the original Telegram trading bot for the Lightning Network. So Francisco was very helpful and shared with me some resources he used to actually build the original bot for the Lightning Network, just in case I was trying to build the version of the bot for trading fiat currencies into stablecoins. And after that, it became even more interesting, the challenge. Finally, on top of all of that, Woodstock and API3 were promoting a bounty to develop the bot. So there always a perfect chance for me to work on that. So the chance to help people, the resources that Francisco gave me, plus the bounty, it was all the motivation for me to, okay, I have to set the time to actually work on that. So that's where the idea came to actually implement and launch the bot.
Wow, that is so fascinating. It seems like the stars and the planets align perfectly. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, you're working on something that could be applied to this thing that Rootstock was looking for someone to build, and at the same time, you got in contact with someone who already built something similar. It's perfect. I love it.
yeah, you all aligned very well. So I couldn't miss the chance to do it.
All right. Well, that when things happen like that, I think it's a sign that you're on the good track and building something that is needed. So how has it been the experience of running the bot so far? And what has been the initial accomplishments that you have achieved in this time?
Yeah, so like I said, I'm pretty happy with people using the bot so far. So I've seen some people from Venezuela, Argentina, Colombia, and even Brazil using the bot. So I think that's the most encouraging thing I'm noticing from the bot so far. And it still has some challenges I still have to work on. So, for example, the liquidity bot needs to be improved. That's something that I'm aware of, but although the bot doesn't have a lot of traction yet, seeing some people already using it and rating each other, the reputation system working is the most awesome thing I'm already seeing for the outcome of the bot. That's for sure.
Yes. Well, I think like the fact that people are already using it and are like you say, are already rating each other, that is wonderful because I think it will take a little bit of time for more people to first of all learn that it exists. I'm hoping these spaces and future podcast release will help with that, and we will add all the links so that people can find it. And I know that in your website you have a very good tutorial, so we're gonna link that too. And again, I think most people are not even aware that you can do something like this on an app like Telegram is not intuitive. It's not like the first thing you think when you see Telegram is just to
Mm,
send messages back and forth. So
right.
yeah, no, but the thing is that you already have users, and that is great. And there's already a community there. And again, these are tools that people actually need. So hopefully, this will drive more growth use cases for the bot in the near future.
Yes, I hope so. And again, thank you so much for the space you're giving me here. I've been also having tremendous help from the Monio Chain and Tropicals communities. They also both did some video tutorials about the bot. Very cool. And yes, you're totally right. So I do realize that if people need to want to use it, they need to know about it. So that's something that I have to work harder because marketing isn't really my strength. But like I said, I have to let people know that that solution exists so that they can take benefit of it. But hopefully things will improve as the bot is more promoted. For sure.
Yes, yes, I think so too. We're doing a lot of work trying to get information out there. What I see in all the Bitcoin and Rootstock ecosystem is that the tools are there and they work. All that seems to be missing is more people learning about them and actually start using them more often. Because the people that do, they see the benefits very, very quickly and it's very evident for them. So I am bullish that it is going to drive more adoption. You know, we are still in the midst of the bear market. So like they say, this is the perfect
Mm.
time to build. And once we start going more into the bull market, that's where people get more curious. And we hopefully can see more users. We just
Yes, fingers crossed.
yes, yes, agreed. We just got Jose that joined in the audience. He's our peer-to-peer teacher. He's always showing us the latest peer-to-peer tools. So hopefully he will get his hands on the bot as well.
Awesome.
Yes, yes. I wanted to ask you, what are your future plans, or what is the roadmap looking for this application?
Yeah, so in the short term, I expect to spread the bot to as many people who might need it as I can so that they can actually benefit from the bot. But for the long term, I expect to take a community driven approach. I do believe that community is very important for a successful project. So I expect to improve the bot as the community sees fit. One thing I had in mind, but it's not yet well formalized, is the ability to actually deploy the bot to other blockchains, just in case people might need to actually trade other assets. That's something I thought about, but like I said, I'm not sure if that's the best way for the community. So in the short term, I do expect to have more people using the bot and then directly ask the community what is the best direction to go. I think that's going to be a better way to to make the bot more successful. And yes, I think that basically summarizes the expectations for the future.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. Like you're already building a community and you have a clear use case and people that have demand for that use case. So being open to listen to them and let them tell you what you need to build and what needs to be improved. I think that is a really, really good way to go about it instead of saying like, I know everything and we're gonna go that way if you like it or not. I think that is a really a really good approach for a project like yours. I think it's the best way.
Yes, I hope so. I did received some feedback already. So, for example, some people don't actually like the Telegram interface. They don't see it very user friendly. But there was a couple of comments. But I don't know. Maybe if that's a common thing, maybe if the community says, okay, we want to have a better interface, that's something they're willing to implement. But like I said, I think that since this project is made for the community, I think the community will be the best player to decide what next steps. So that's what I'm hoping for.
How that is very interesting. I've heard some people again in different peer-to-peer marketplaces make similar comments about the interface with Telegram because again Telegram is not designed for this kind of stuff. So, like, how would you build a different interface? Would you need to build it yourself entirely outside of Telegram, or what do you think the best way would be to make that happen?
Yeah, yeah. I think that the most straightforward way would be to do that because, like I said, the solution has two pieces. So you have the Telegram that handles the communication and the order book, and you have the smart contract. So the smart contract is the base layer where the security and the centralization is. So I don't have to change the smart contract just to change the interface. So the work would be just to plug a new interface for users to actually place their orders, to take the orders, and that can be done in the future by me, if, for example, I have the resources to do it at the time. Or it could be, for example, let's say I open up the project and somebody wants to build some other interface on top of it. So yeah, these are the two possible ways that could about changing the interface of the bot.
Wow, that is so interesting. It opens the possibility to start to imagining like very very interesting tools to be built in the future. I know, like I spoke
Yeah.
with Francisco Calderon, developer that you mentioned earlier, that he already created something similar and he helped you with this one. And he was last
Hmm.
time I spoke with him, he was talking about trying to build something similar but using Noster. Is that something that you looked into?
To be honest, no. Yes, I'm still in the crypto space and the Bitcoin space. You have a lot of technologies emerging all the time, but I haven't really wrapped my head around Northstar. So I still have to know more about how it works. It's definitely that's something writing down right now.
Yeah, no, that is a fair and good answer. Yeah, I am the same way. I am full time researching the space and participating as much as I can, and I can't keep track of everything that's happening. I've been testing out Noster. I like it. I'm a fan of it, but
Hmm.
I think it's still not ready for mainstream adoption. It's like the interface is still clunky. There's a lot of things that are not as polished, and the user experience is not as good. But it's something that it is very interesting. For the time I spoke with Francisco, he was very excited about the idea of providing the interface, the way of exchanging
Hmm.
these messages for trades in a way that is more decentralized and more censorship resistant. Because I
Yeah,
yeah, continue. Sorry.
that's actually a very, very sorry to interrupt you. So yeah.
No, no, please continue.
Yeah, I was just thinking about it because you're right. The communication part of the Telegram is still a censorship and prone part of the system that I'm talking about right now. And of course, if you can actually have a decentralized messaging protocol, actually gives so the solution a bit more resilience against censorship, against governments. Yes, that's actually I'm just thinking out loud. Wow, that's actually mind blowing. I didn't think about that. Yeah, that's definitely something I have to research for sure.
Yeah, yeah. I reckon, yeah, maybe one day we can do a conversation with you and Francisco. That would be very very interesting. I I think with all this stuff is a lot of trade offs, right? Because you may think, okay, if I build a Noster, I'm more censorship resistant and more all this stuff. But at the same time, like, how many users does Nostr have versus how many users do we see on Telegram? And yeah, if we want to reach the everyday people, we can't expect them to learn how to do peer-to-peer trading, how to use Nostr, and all this stuff all at once. I think it's a bit too much sometimes. So I think there's going to be room for all different kinds of iterations and innovations, and hopefully, what I would like to see is all these different experiments starting to work together and help each other. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. And you're right. I think that there is a learning curve that can be a barrier for many people. So my expectation is that as the technology also advances, some progress is also made on the UI and the user experience side because, like I said, it's complicated even for people who are constantly searching the space, even developers to actually understand the technology themselves, let alone the average user. So I think that hopefully, if both the technologies behind the scene and the user interface progress on the same time, that could be a really awesome thing because then you have the technology ready to so people can actually join and do to actually take leverage of the technology easier.
Yes, yes, 100%. And the final goal that we're all trying to achieve here is to allow people to have tools that empower them and make their lives easier. And it may sound maybe a little bit silly for someone to hear that peer-to-peer marketplace on Telegram makes people's lives easier, but if you're in Argentina, you're earning pesos and your pesos are losing value constantly. And just by having the Telegram app in your phone, you can quickly, seamlessly, and in a very secure way, change those pesos for something like dollar on chain, like a stablecoin that's backed by Bitcoin, which is the best asset we can find. That can have a significant impact in a lot of people's lives.
Yes, yes, I hope so. I hope that more people find that and can actually make good changes in their lives. So that's the expectation. That's what I hope for.
Yes, yes. It's good to keep meeting people like you that are very driven and in this same quest and pushing the space forward. And I wanna ask you, I don't know if we touched on this already, but if you wanna tell a little bit about the challenges that you had to face building the application and the ways that you overcame them, I think that would be good for our listeners to know a little bit more about your journey.
Yeah, sure. So, like I said, the trading bot for RSK was based on the existing Telegram bot for the Lightning Network that Francisco did. But the most challenging part of it was making sure that the bot would integrate nicely and safely with the smart contract. Because, like I said, a Telegram bot is meant for the communication, for the order book. When it comes to actually lock the funds, to transfer the funds, and make sure that nobody can run away with the funds or any problem, I had to make sure that the smart contract would be very secure and well integrated with the bot. So I spent a lot of time understanding how the Lightning ecosystem worked, how it was implemented, and how to make the transition from the Lightning network to smart contracts on Rootstock. So that required a lot of thinking and a lot of tests and a lot of experimentation. So I'd say that was the most challenging part of it. And yes, I spent weeks trying to find the best solution for that. That for sure was the technical side speaking. That was the most difficult part of the project.
Yeah, I must imagine so. Again, the like once you go into the application for the trading, it seems very simple and very intuitive, but I'm sure behind the scenes there's a lot of stuff happening that I am, as a user, I am not aware of, and that's a good thing. It's good to abstract the complexity so that the users don't need to understand everything that's happening, even though it's good to know a little bit, but you don't need to know exactly what's going on. And hopefully, as we move forward with all the Bitcoin space, I think we need to keep abstracting the complexity as much as we can to allow more people in. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I think that whenever you can abstract away some complexity from the end user without giving up the security, that's a good thing. So, like I said, it's good for people to actually use things very friendly, but they also need to be sure that their funds are safe. So, whenever possible, I try to take that approach. I'm not saying that it's perfect. Of course, it isn't. But yes, I try to make a good balance between the complexity and the security of smart contract.
Yes. Perfect. Perfect. I wanna ask you, do you has there been any wallet that it was is looking to integrate something like your bot into their UI directly? Is that even something possible? Is that something that you think would be good? It would add to your project and might help onboard more people? Have you thought of something like that?
Yeah, yeah, that's something that crossed my mind. Trying, for example, to look for some wallet providers in the Rootstock ecosystem, the find wallet, the quality wallet. That's something that I thought about, but I didn't actually go for it. So right now, yeah, you try to use the bot. You see there is a screen. You have to connect your wallet, your standard wallet. So it supports MetaMask, it supports Equality, it supports even Trezor, Decent, a lot of wallets directly, but not directly integrated with the wallet itself. That's something that I was considering, but honestly, I didn't actually pursue for a partnership or something like that. But that's a good point. Maybe you're right. Maybe if some wallet provided support directly, some partnership, perhaps they can improve with adoption of the bot. That's a really good point.
Yeah, yeah. Well, they always say that ideas are very cheap, but when you actually have to decide where to put your attention and your efforts and your time and your resources, which are all limited, as humans, we all have limited time, limited effort, limited e- energy. You have to make priorities. So it's very understandable that you haven't explored all the possibilities fully because that's impossible. But
Yeah, yeah, but I appreciate all the feedback you gave me because these are things that I'm writing down. And yes, definitely avenues that I can explore to promote more of the bot. Yeah, that's very appreciated for that.
no worries. I hear that you mentioned Defiant. I think that doing it with them, I think it would be great. Their mobile wallet is very, very, very good for holding Rootstock assets and operating with the entire Rootstock ecosystem. I think if you want to use Rootstock on your phone, Defiant's
Nice.
probably your best option. I know Exodus is doing a lot of efforts to integrate Rootstock as well, and they have a massive amount of users. I believe last time I checked,
Wow.
they have above 4 million, if I'm not mistaken. So,
Whoa.
yeah, those two would be incredible. Of course, at some stage in the future, hopefully. But something like that, I think it would attract a lot more users. And it's something to keep in mind. And I will try to reach out to both teams to see if they are interested. But
Yes, definitely, definitely. That's very nice. That's very cool.
yeah, so looking to ask you a few questions that are, because I think we covered most of the book on how it works and your plans for the future. Is there anything you want that I haven't asked you that you think is important for people to know about the bot?
Yes, I think that the best way to understand the bot will be using it. So I invite everybody to actually try the bot out. So I think that's the best way for them to actually see how the bot works. And please feel free to give any feedback. Like I said, I'm hoping to get a community driven approach. So any feedback about how the bot works or how it should work would be much appreciated.
Yes, yes, definitely, definitely. You were saying earlier that much of the roadmap and where this project goes will be determined by the community itself. That you have certain ideas of what would be good to add, but ultimately the idea is that the community itself has the ability to decide for the future of the protocol. So I invite everyone that's listening to this to go test it and make your voice heard.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yes. Now we have a few more minutes, so I would like to ask you if you have time
Sure.
to maybe talk a little bit about, because you're in Brazil, and I want to know how you see the situation in Brazil in relation to Bitcoin. What is like the overview for someone that's not there but is curious on what's happening? If you can just speak a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. So Brazil was always known for crypto innovation. So we have a lot of projects coming here, but On the other side, we have the government recently trying to suppress all the Bitcoin and all the everything related to Bitcoin and crypto in general. Yeah, so we have taxation, we have a lot of laws trying to make the lives of people using Bitcoin or even trading or trying to hold assets, even in private wallets, almost a crime. So there are a lot of hostile regulations coming in, and it has become a very hostile place for investors and for people actually trying to have more freedom using Bitcoin. So recently, it's been a nightmare, to be honest.
Wow, I see. I even myself, I was born in South America. I didn't know things were like that in Brazil. It's sad to hear. Could you maybe tell us a little bit about what is the general feeling of the everyday people facing these kinds of situation? Like,
Yeah, so people in Brazil, they are very against the government in general. So the reaction is like, okay, now I need to find a way to actually hold my assets better. I need to find ways to, I don't know, try to not pay my taxes and try to do whatever they can to actually hold the assets in a way that they can have more freedom. Because with that, the government made it clear that the state is the enemy of the people. So that raised a lot of the inner fire from the Brazilian people against the government again. And you have a lot of YouTube channels saying about, okay, these taxations are tough and their general reaction from people is very bad against the government. But on the other side, people are always trying to help each other say, okay, take away your Bitcoin from exchanges, buy some wallet, hot wallet, download your own private wallet and try to make the uncostly, do whatever you can to actually hold your Bitcoin the right way, engage in peer-to-peer trading, avoid exchanges. So I think for the bright side, people are actually using Bitcoin the way it should be used for.
that is so interesting. It's almost like the more the government fights Bitcoin, the more people use it, like you said, the way it's meant to be used, which is precisely so that the government can't actually control it. And if you go to more, let's say, developed economies, then in those places you see that because they don't face this kind of opposition, people are much more likely to deposit their Bitcoin in something like FTX, BlockFi, Celsius, and all those stuff that is like the whole point of Bitcoin was so that we didn't have to trust these companies. So
Yeah, yeah, it's sad because people might lose their lifetime savings, and that's very sad. But yes, it happened to me in the early days where I had to learn my lesson by losing my bitcoins. Unfortunately, that's the only way people actually learn the proper way to use Bitcoin. S- inevitable.
yes, yes. And I just remember a line from one of my favorite books. It's called The Sovereign Individual, which is a book that if the audience have not read, I recommend it. Is big, is long, dense, but it's actually a really, really good book, especially to understand what's going on right now in the world. And it has a line, that book was written way before Bitcoin, but it actually predicted something like Bitcoin happening. And
Hmm.
it had a line that said something like, when a government tries to block a subversive technology, all it does is it forces people to apply this technology to its most subversive use case. And I see this very clearly because in places like here, like in Australia, the economy is stable, the government is, it's not great, but it's not that bad. So people are very happy depositing their Bitcoin in something like FTX, BlockFi, Celsius, whatever. But then you go to a place like Argentina or Brazil, where the government is much more aggressive for you holding Bitcoin. And then it's like, okay, if I want to hold Bitcoin, I have to self custody. I have to make sure that my identity is hidden or protected or whatever. And you see that because the government is trying to block the use case of Bitcoin, what they're actually doing is they are forcing people to use Bitcoin in the way that is most subversive to the actual government, which is fascinating.
Yes, for sure. It's like the unstoppable locomotive you posted on Twitter. Can't be stopped. And that's the beauty of it.
Yeah, yes, true, true. Um, so we are approaching the 1 hour mark. If the audience has any questions, they're free to write it down as text or asking for the microphone, ask them to Wallace directly. If not, Wallace, do you want to leave us with some takeaway or some message that you want the audience to leave with? And then I'll ask you our famous last question that we do in every show.
Yes, I would say hold on to Bitcoin and live life freedom.
Wonderful, wonderful. Very short, simple, to a point, but extremely important. If people do those things, I think they will benefit massively. So the famous last question that we all always ask our guests is, what would you ask Satoshi if you were to meet him today?
Yeah, that's a tricky one. I think from a developer standpoint, I have a lot of questions. But maybe out of curiosity, I would ask him if he ever plans to show us some sign that he's still around. Maybe, I don't know, in the next financial crisis or something like that. It's just, I would die to know.
Yeah, that actually that I we never had that answer before, so it's very interesting, and it just makes it makes you wonder, like if one day someone would prove that they are Satoshi, what that would have as an impact. I know that Satoshi has no more power over the network than any other user, but I still think if one day he would show up with actual proof, not like those people that say they are Satoshi with no proof whatsoever, I think it would be really, really interesting if that happened. Have you ever thought, like, what do you think could happen if Satoshi shows up?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that's why I was so curious about it. I don't know. Maybe, yeah,
Yeah,
it's so mind blowing. I can even
I know. Like,
think about it.
it's impossible to predict. So, Wallace, thank you so much for this conversation. I think the project that you're building is very useful. I hope more people get to know about it, learn how to use it, and start using it consistently. And if there's anything we can do to help you, we'll be very, very happy to do so. If you want to come back to another spaces sometime in the future, when you have like a big announcement or something that you want us to help you with, very, very happy. We are here for whatever it is that you need. And yes, thank you. Thank you everyone for coming. We do these spaces this same time every week, and we try to keep bringing a spotlight for the people that are building things on Bitcoin or that are helping the Bitcoin ecosystem grow and develop. So again, Wallace, thank you so, so much. And thank you all the audience for coming here. We hope we see you next week.
Thank you so much for having this space for me. And I appreciate all the help you gave me. Yes. Yeah, that's it. And thanks everybody for all listening.
All right, everyone. Take care.